Hello everyone, I'm Jonathan Calixto, and today is Tuesday, April 22nd. You are now watching Open, a program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to you. Don't forget to stay connected with us via social media at BronxNet TV. For 29 years, the New York Center for Children has provided trauma-focused therapy services to victims of child abuse and their families free of charge for as long as their healing requires. They are also a leader in training programs on the diagnosis, treatment, and prevention of child abuse, attended by professionals and graduate-level medical psychology and social work students. Please join me in welcoming the Executive Director of the New York Center for Children, Christine Crowther. Christine, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Jonathan.
Yeah, thank you so much. Obviously, a very important month when we're talking about child abuse and its prevention as well. But let's start off. Tell me a little bit more about the organization.
Okay, the New York Center for Children is a center for children who've been abused, and we provide trauma-focused therapy completely free of charge for as long as necessary to children from all 5 boroughs of New York City. We provide services to children as young as 3 and all the way up to young adult, 22 or 23, and we work holistically with the children and their families to help them heal and thrive.
Wow, very important work. And of course, when we hear about the numbers of child abuse here in New York, I mean, it's incredibly shocking. There is a report that estimates 50,000 reports of child abuse that are filed each year. Talk to me about the impact that those numbers have on our community.
Yes, well, child abuse and adverse childhood experiences really have a negative and long-lasting impact on children, and that lasts through their lifetime if not addressed. So a lot of the problems will become mental health problems, physical health problems, and even like shortened lifespan due to these negative experiences in childhood. So if children are able to get help when they're young, they can address the issues and learn healthy coping mechanisms and learn to do well in school and in life. And so it really makes a difference to get help as a child. It's always good to get help even as an adult, of course, but the sooner you can start receiving support and therapy, the better.
Yeah, you talk about obviously that important key right there of that support, you know, listening to what is happening and going on. Talk to me, obviously the organization has served this community now for almost close to 30 years. Why is it important that our community actually listens to these numbers as well? What can that kind of, in the long run, kind of provide?
Yes, well, we are celebrating our 30th anniversary this year, so we're proud of that. And yes, you know, it's just very important to be aware that child abuse is a issue for our communities and, you know, the whole country and the whole world, in fact, but especially in New York City, the more we are aware of it, the more we can help these families and these children get services, the better.
Yeah. Now, of course, April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. Talk to me a little bit about, you know, obviously how this month kind of plays into sharing these resources and getting the word out there.
Yes. So for Child Abuse Prevention Month, communities throughout the country come together to raise awareness about child abuse, just about the prevalence and what can be done, and learning about signs and symptoms, and helping support organizations that provide services to children who've been abused. So it's just an awareness raising period month, and it's also a time to get involved and focus our attention on child abuse as an issue.
Yeah, now of course, when you even say there, like, be able to kind of diagnose these signs, these symptoms, what are some of those signs that obviously our parents, caregivers, children can also look out for?
Yes, well, there are many symptoms because there are many kinds of abuse, and so we sort of talk about physical indicators of child abuse and then behavioral indicators of child abuse. And so some of the physical indicators of child abuse, and it would depend on the kind of abuse, but for physical abuse, it's things like unexplained bruises or burns or welts, or, you know, physical signs like on a face or on other parts of the body. And for neglect, it would be, which many cases of abuse are neglect. It's children who are not bathed properly, or are not wearing the right clothes for the right weather, so are not the right size clothes. And so it's a number of things. Not sometimes children who are overly hungry or underweight, that could be a sign of neglect as well. And those are all things you can observe visually. Then there are behavioral indicators, which are more like the child changes in their patterns, such as they start having nightmares, or they start having change in appetite or changing the way they behave, becoming more withdrawn or frightened of adults, frightened of going home, things like
Wow.
that. And sometimes, a lot of the children we provide service to have been sexually abused. So sometimes that's a sign of that would be that they know a lot about sexual, advanced for their age,
Right.
about sexual behaviors. And
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, with some of the kind of signs that you are talking about, something that the organization does is provide this recovery aspect,
Yes.
this long-term healing option for them as well. When we talk about recovery, though, what is the biggest challenges that you are seeing from children after they face these types of abuse?
Well, I mean, I think at our center and with other organizations that work with children, we learn to engage the children and build a rapport, and we engage them with a lot of play therapy and make it very comfortable and welcoming, so that we reduce the barriers to getting the help. So we don't, we take time to build the relationship with the child and to make the child feel comfortable, and so they can use games and toys to express themselves, and that will help them work with the therapist to provide the therapy that will help them heal.
Yeah, one of the options that I saw on the website is this trauma-focused therapy.
Yes.
How does that kind of work and differ from other options as well?
Okay, well, so trauma-focused therapy is so that we can really focus on what has happened to the child, as opposed to just sort of being open-ended without any clear goal. The child may not want to him or herself bring up what happened to them. Like if left to their own, they may not want to talk about it. So we do introduce it, but in a very supportive way, and we work with the child on it and talk about the trauma that's happened to them. And in fact, during the course of therapy, they work on something called the trauma narrative, which is not at the beginning, but after they built a rapport, they can either write or draw a picture, which will sort of explain just privately to them and their therapist about the trauma, so that they're able to get it out. And so the whole point of therapy is to process the trauma that they've experienced, and then after a period of could be a year or 2 years or somewhere in between, their symptoms will start improving, and then they will be ready to end therapy.
Wow. Now, of course, with that work, something that I did see in the annual report, this was in the 2023 annual report,
Yes.
that I found interesting was
Yes.
that obviously, aside from the mission of helping these children and providing them with the resources that they need,
Yes.
you also train 100 medical students
Yes.
and residents
Yes.
to gain skills in diagnosing and treating child abuse.
Yes.
How is that aspect important in kind of ending child abuse and just providing another resource for them?
Yes, well, we definitely strongly believe in education, and so we train medical students, psychology students, social work students, and then individuals working throughout the communities with children, such as teachers, social workers, guidance counselors, camp counselors, anyone who's working with children. We teach them about generally recognizing signs and symptoms, what to do when you are concerned there might be a case of child abuse, and in the case of medical students and residents, it's like the very specific signs and symptoms medically, and how to examine a child, and what to do, how to report child abuse. Those are the things that we train on, and the importance of getting help for these children. So the more people, especially professionals working with children, that are aware of what to do when they see child abuse, the better, because sometimes I think people are not sure what to do and are somewhat frightened about the repercussions of reporting, or the repercussions of getting involved. And sometimes people feel it may be a personal matter, and it's important for individuals, especially professionals, to be able to respond appropriately when they are concerned about child abuse.
Yeah, that's one thing that I was kind of just impressed with, is that you're training these experts to be well familiar with the signs, the symptoms,
Yes.
And how to speak to it when it comes to these families and
Yes.
children who are facing it.
Yes.
Now, something else that you mentioned earlier is that the organization does serve children from across all 5 boroughs.
Yes.
Serving a large population. How do
Yes.
you ensure that children have access to these vital services as well?
Yes, well, we are accessible. Most of the children families come to our center, which is on the Upper East Side, but we're accessible to children from all 5 boroughs, which we're, accessible by the subway or the bus or driving. And we try to be very accommodating in terms of making our appointments available. And as I said, there's no charge to attend. The services are free. made possible by our supporters and by grants. And additionally, we assist the families sometimes if they are low income and don't have enough extra funds to get there. We'll provide them with subway, metro cards, and things like that to assist. And we also have a snack with the child after their therapy session. And then we also have lots of special events for the children to help, make them feel welcome with other children, such as a big holiday party. And then we also provide tutoring by volunteers to the children after their therapy session. Not all of the children receive tutoring, but we have that component as an extra added benefit for some of the children and families who need that extra help.
Yeah, of course. So you are sharing so many kind of resources that parents and families can take advantage of to address this issue. For parents and caregivers who may be watching and are hesitant about how to respond to something like this,
Yes.
what would you let them know?
Well, they should reach out, and we would be happy to answer any questions they have and to help them walk them through the process. And if they could reach out to us or other organizations in the city, and if we're not the right organization for them, we can direct them to the right organization. But definitely reach out, and they can go on our website to learn more about our services. They can email us, call us, and we'll definitely want to engage them and help them understand the process. And I think I would say 99% of the families really appreciate the help that we are providing to them, and it will only be a benefit for them and their child, and I think that's what most parents want.
Yeah. Now, of course, with that, Christine, thank you again for sharing so many resources with us and just more information about the organization and the work that you do. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Now, of course, for our viewers, if you would like to learn more about their services, please visit their website at newyorkcenterforchildren.org. Don't go away. We'll be back with more Open after this.